You gotta put lad block on. All right, hey everybody, welcome to
Wingman's nuts. Yes, indeed, he said that. Hello, everyone. It's Nikki Batgirl D'Angelo here for another State of the Game. Before we get started, I want to make one thing perfectly clear. Actually, please take my humble explanation of this. This is called State of the Game, and I think I misrepresented what it was in the beginning. It's not State of the Game for Star Citizen. However, it has pretty much been that for the last 4, 5, 6, 7 episodes, and it will continue to be that for this episode. It's State of My Game, the games that I'm playing. And I really appreciate you listening to it and commenting on it and liking it. But I might be throwing in things about Elite Dangerous, War Thunder, World of Tanks, and some other games that I play. Though you know my primary focus is always going to be on Star Citizen. So who's in front of us? This is that amazingly well-produced and awesome sound quality of Wingman's Nuts, Episode 1, which soon after became Wingman's Hangar for obvious reasons. But Eric and Mike and Chris Olivia and a few other people that were synonymous, were like the faces of CIG in the beginning of the Star Citizen crowdfunding campaign, are no longer with Cloud Imperium Games. I hope you all know that. I've known that for quite some time. I've been biting my tongue for weeks, having this information, and not because CIG gives me the information. They don't. I mean, when I call Ben, I get more can't comments than you probably do. But I was able to figure it out based on just certain things that were being said in different interviews I had, and then, honestly, the lack of Eric at 2 events was all I needed to seal the deal. And I talked to Eric, and I talked to Ben, and I got 2 no comments, and I realized at that point, which is about 4 weeks ago, that Eric was gone. Eric was the face of CIG for a long time, but his role was president of production. And that's important to understand. The president of production is going to be behind the scenes. How often do you see other people that are in amazingly high-end roles at CIG in front of a camera? Let me rattle off some names, okay? Or a couple. How often do you see Sean Tracy or Travis Day in front of a camera? And there's some other names I could throw out here, but I think those 2 are big enough to make it known. How often do you see Aaron Roberts in front of a camera? Their job is to get the game made. So I understand our issue with Eric being gone. I loved Eric. I loved him so much. And I remember that first episode, I think it was episode 35 when they were at Gamescom. The first one I've ever watched, and the one that sealed the deal for me actually buying that first Aurora, which lasted for a week and quickly became a 325A, and then a Constellation. Oh, we can't even go on. I've spent so much money on this game because of those 2 right there. But I have the utmost confidence in CIG, and I know they're going to get it done. This first episode, though, was just so bad. And here is the last episode. There was a big transition right in the middle. And at some point, it stopped being that wonderful, I'm the face of CIG, this is what things are at our company, and quickly became a very corporate-like show. And we all kind of cried out and said, please give us back that Eric Wingman Peterson that we had before. And instead, what they gave us was Around the Verse. And I'm going to tell you this right now. I like Around the Verse. I loved Wingman's Hangar. But I wasn't around for Wingman's Nuts. I can't say I would have loved Wingman's Nuts. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. A lot of you have concerns about them becoming corporate, about them hiding things from us, about them not being upfront about things, and about, the sky is falling now that Chris Olivia and Michael Moreland and, Eric Peterson are gone. It's not like that. Let's talk a little bit about what happened at CIG first, as we look at Eric talking in episode 72. So CIG started way back when. I mean, let's just say Chris Roberts had this idea. The original name of the game was going to be Space Traders, but it was not going to be the name of the game. It was the code name of the game. And, you know, he got Ben involved, he got Eric involved, he got Sandy involved, and a couple of other people. And they made a demo, and they went out and they made the pitch during the Game Developer Conference in Austin, Texas, about 3-4 years ago at this point. I don't know the exact date, and please don't hold it over my head. I've had about, I'd say this is my 5th Absolute and Cranberry for the evening. Yeah, this one was going to be an emotional episode, so I drank a little bit before I started recording. But, you know, Chris came out, talked about the game, and put it out there. So they started, and it was a really small company. And they were fighting against companies like, or competing against companies like EA and Activision. So it was like Davey versus Goliath. Well, here we are, a few years later, and they've just passed $60 million. So has David become Goliath? Has CIG transitioned from that cool company that they were when they were small and personable, and Wingman was the face of CIG for us? Have they transformed into this corporate entity like some people commented in my show? Well, I don't think so. And I'm going to say goodbye to Eric right now. Eric, I loved you as part of CIG. I looked forward to watching you every week. And I will look forward to whatever you do with that wonderful new game that you're going to be creating. And we'll talk about that at the end of this episode. Wingman's Hangar ended, and we were given Around the Verse. Gone was Mark Skelton and his gorgeous gold shirt. Well, that was actually from the Next Great Starship contest. But we didn't have the cool little funny skits anymore, the news from around space stuff. And we didn't get, you know, the floating heads or the nose cam. We got a more corporate look at the Star Citizen game. And while I was disappointed at first, I started looking at it from a different perspective. I'm still a little disappointed, I want to be honest with you. But we get a lot more information, a corporate look at the company. But we get a lot more information about what's going on with Star Citizen, with Squadron 42. And a lot more information from the different people that are in the production of the game. I'm sorry that I'm picking my words here. There was more than just Eric and Rob and Mark. There were so many more people. But that's what we got. That's the look into the company that we got when it was Wingman's Hangar. I'm kind of conflicted here. I wish there was a way to have that love, that small company feel that Wingman's Hangar brought to us with the information that's open to us, that's available to us through Around the Verse now. I miss Eric. I miss Michael. I miss Mark, his hazy thoughts. I miss news from Around the Verse. I miss all of the different, and definitely not my own, mine sucked, but all the different fan-based videos. And I wish that was something that they would bring back into Around the Verse. They did this funny thing, the nose cam, in the first episode, but it's kind of been sanitized since. And I'm not bringing this up to agree with or disagree with those that say the sky is falling now that Eric is gone. I don't get that feeling. I've known about Eric leaving the company for a lot longer than most of you, as long as some of you, and not as long as a few of you. And I still see that the game is going forward. The good news is that Eric, Chris, and Michael and others are going to be bringing us another crowdfunded game based on the Descent type of, well, based on a Descent 2, Descent 3 game from the 90s. If you don't know what they are, check Wikipedia. So we have some bad news and we have some good news. But is it really as bad as some of us, as most of us, are making out? Well, I'm going to cut here for just a moment, okay? And now you see the latest episode of Around the Verse and how far it's come. Now, there was a lot of growth and a lot of fun that came out of Wingman's Hangar, but there's a lot of information that comes out of Around the Verse. And some of it is kind of sanitized and kind of just thrown at us as this is what Cloud Imperium Games wants you to see of the game. And others are kind of the open and honest commentary from Ben and Sandy and Will and James and others. We get a lot of information from this company weekly. Chris Roberts does 10 from the Chairman. They do Around the Verse. They have Inside CIG. And I can't believe that some of you say, it's so corporate, we're not getting the real message, the sky is falling, the game is going under. I don't know about that. I don't know if there's enough information out there at this point to say that. What I do see is that with each release of the patches, they fix bugs, new ones come out, they squash them, they show us more of the game, they bring that out, it doesn't work, they fix it, they make it work, it gets better, they tweak it, it's great. The game is progressing. I miss the honest and open approach that Eric had in the beginning, but even he would say things and have the redacted sign across the screen when he couldn't. I'm not at all upset or disappointed. I'm kind of taking it like rolling with the punches. I've been in a company that for years changes a lot. The person that started my company, the person that was a figurehead for my company, died a few years ago. And the sky was falling and things were going to end, and it didn't. And I look at them and I see Aaron, I see Rob, I see Sean Tracy, I see Travis Day, I see Ben and Sandy, I see acquisitions like Will, who is running the forums, and, Ben's right-hand man, James. And I see all these people that they're hiring on. I see them moving from contractors like CG Bot and bringing things internal. I think this is going forward big. But I don't see the things that an EA or a Blizzard would do and hide things from us. I see a lot of good coming out of CIG. But, I'm kind of choked up right now, knowing that things are changing, knowing that things are progressing, and knowing that some people are being left behind. What is Cloud Imperium Games without Eric Wingman Peterson? It's Cloud Imperium Games without Wingman Peterson. Eric was awesome. He was our guide in the beginning, the person that came out and told us where the game was each week. Well, now we have to rely on these two. And James and Will when they sit in for them. And we have to rely on Chris to be honest each week and 10 for the Chairman. And I feel that has been happening. Yes, there's a corporate spin on it. And I think that if we cry out just a little bit, kind of like we did for the next great starships that we want made, we can have them bring things back in line. They need to be a little bit lighter. They need to be a little bit more open to letting us have our say on their show also. Around the Verse has become a corporate look into how CIG is moving ahead with the game, and a corporate spin on how people are interviewed. I wish they would allow me on the show so I could do the interviews, so I could ask the hard questions. But I understand why they have to do it their way. Oh my god, if I see that word Shubin one more time, I will throw up. Sorry about that, guys. So what does that leave me? I've known for a few weeks that Eric was leaving. I knew that Michael left a while ago. I knew that Chris left. Chris Olivia, that is. And I've been just sitting back like I would with anything else and seeing how the game was coming along. What I saw was a couple of well-executed events. I saw a couple of errors come out in the latest patches and get quickly corrected. And I saw a couple of other things that made me look at the game as, well, that's not so bad. Things seem to be business as usual. It is business as usual, but it doesn't have that same face, that same humor, that same love that it used to have. I hope to God that changes. When I watched the first Around the Verse, I was a little bit disappointed. And then there was one where it was just Will and James, and I got the feeling of that old Wingman's Hangar again. And I was kind of hopeful that they would do that again, but it just hasn't happened. To me, it makes more sense that somebody like Will and somebody like James would do the show. But I understand why the vice president of marketing and the community manager would be doing the show, to make sure that the right message is put out each week. Now, I'm not looking to be the conspiracy theorist, and I talk to Ben a lot, and I've had Sandy on the show, and they are wonderful people. And I think they get it. But this is a new company, and they have to be able to direct the message that they want out there. I'm not going to back off on my enthusiasm for the game. I think when it comes out, it's going to be everything that I wanted. Well, I hope 50% of everything I wanted. Nothing ever is everything you want, right? But I can see it going in the right direction, and everything has setbacks. The good news is that Eric, Michael, Chris, and others are going to be making another game, and although it's not the game that I want, I'm sure it's the game that many of us are going to play while we're trying to wait for more content to come out for Star Citizen, I guess. But I support anything that Eric does. And I'm going to end this piece of the show here. If you guys have any comments about this, put it below. I know a lot of you are quite taken back by the fact that Eric has left and feel like the sky is falling. It is not. The sky is not falling, and things aren't as bad as everybody is making it out to be. But they are going to be different. There's no doubt about that. They've been different since the format change of Wingman's Hangar so long ago. Well, it seems so long ago now, right? And they've been different since things were moved from Wingman's Hangar to Around the Verse. And I'm sure it's going to be even more different for me. I went to CIG last March. I walked around and there was this passion, this love for everything that Chris Roberts said. And I can tell you this, when I talk to the staff, when I talk to Ben, I still hear that in everybody's voice that's around him when I'm talking to him. It doesn't seem like that corporate entity like EA. So I don't think we have much to fear. But what I am going to tell you is, I am 100% behind this game. And I'll continue to report on it. But things are going to change on my channel too. I'm going to start talking about some other games. And that's where I'm going. With that said, you all be safe out there, and I'll talk to you soon.